Thank you for checking out crypto.chartguys.com, the source for technical analysis in the cryptocurrency world. We are proud to announce our own crypto alert system designed to give you the most critical technical trading information possible no matter where you are. Keep your eyes on the market with mobile or email alerts for MACD crosses, RSI levels, and even inside bar alerts for dozens of coins across multiple exchanges. New features and proprietary ChartGuys indicators are already in development. Our alert system is very easy to customize and utilize, so don't hesitate to sign up for the most effective crypto trading tool on the market at crypto.chartguys.com. Hello everyone, hope you're well. Checking in, we're going to look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin, and Dash. And I'm going to be looking at Dash because as soon as I'm done this video, I'm going to be heading downtown to Austin during South by Southwest to check out Dash Fest, which is a bit of a show put on that's going to be free, but if you want to buy 25-cent tacos and 25-cent beer, you have to do so in Dash. So going to check that out, going to be just watching from the sidelines and see how confusing is this for people to adopt, how easy for it is the people to explain it, and how much chaos is there, essentially, is what I'm going to be looking for. And if it's a smooth transition, that'll be great. But it's obviously the first live case cryptocurrency payment system that I've ever seen. So again, we're going to see a lot of people who have never heard, who don't even know what cryptocurrency is, even Bitcoin. And we're going to see them faced with, hey, you want 25-cent beer, you have to do it this way. So going to be very interested. I'll certainly come back and report my observations, and should be interesting. So looking at Bitcoin, we had a really nice bounce play out. And again, if we are playing bearish, we are playing against the market, or against the trend, I should say. We are shorter or quicker to take our profits, and we're very picky. So I was talking in the video yesterday, I need the hourly, the 4-hour, the 15-minute, the 5-minute RSI to be oversold before I start scaling into entries. And once I do make those entries, back in previous market environments, I was going all in on these oversold bounces. In these current environments, I'm not doing that, and by not doing that, I stay more protective because I can always, cost basis down and average my position if something wild happens, like the 4-hour RSI drops down to, 18 or something like that. So I did scale into Litecoin yesterday, made a nice little trade, and I'll check that out. And it's pretty frustrating to watch people on Twitter or wherever just completely trash technical analysis when they're clearly not using it. And when you look at this daily chart, and I need to switch over here to Coinbase, but you look at this daily chart on Bitcoin, and it's been pulling back for 4 days. And for me to be able to say I have 0 losses in cryptocurrency the last 4 days, and I've actually made about 3% in 2 different trades, and for them to tell me technical analysis doesn't work in this environment, it's so frustrating because I literally have proof in front of my face that it is working. So some of those people, you can try and, say, hey, and show them the light, but most of them, they are already stuck in their own mindset, and there is no getting them out of it. So checking in on Bitcoin, again, it's a bullish reversal candlestick on the daily time frame. We're not looking for this daily time frame to change trend anytime soon, because in order for Bitcoin to change this daily trend, we would have to break 9,890, and that's still 20% away from where we stand right now. So best case scenario for the bulls would be a bounce, another lower high, unless news comes out, but another lower high, higher low, higher high to change the trend back in their favor. That's what has to play out. So at this point, we can look at this chart and say, in order for the bulls to take over, it's going to be a bare minimum of probably 4 to 6 days before we even change this daily trend. So that's why, again, I'm not looking for trend changes when I'm playing these bounces. You can set your stop loss to break even and try and go for a home run trade. For me, I'm going to constantly be locking it in. I am a very anti-FOMO. I've got anti-FOMO juice running through my veins, where if I make a 3% trade and I get that profit and the trade ends up going 10%, I'm perfectly fine saying, okay, I missed out. I could have held on a little bit longer. I'll go back and review the reasons or some little indicators that I could have looked at to give me some signs to hold a little bit longer. But I'm not going to sit there and change my game plan trying to go for the home run, because I'm going to continue making money if I just lock in these small gains, a couple percent here and there, and patiently wait for the market environment to change. If we can go green while trading bullish in a bearish environment, we're going to be just fine. So checking out Bitcoin on the daily, there's our bullish reversal candlestick. The 4-hour RSI got oversold. We had 6 out of the last 7 4-hour candlesticks in the red. The RSI dipped down into the upper 20s. At the low of the candlestick, it was down at about, 25 or so. Bullish reversal candlestick with the long lower wick confirmed, and now some follow through. 4-hour inside bar currently forming is likely going to dictate the direction of momentum into tonight. So 4-hour inside bar, we got support 7,970, resistance 8,318. And I'm going to be watching for this formation because, again, if we get a bull break heading into tonight, we'll be looking at the high of the bounce, 8,400. And if we get a bear break, we're looking right back down at the low of the dump. I have no interest in rushing back into a trade at this point. The hourly time frame, again, checking out what were conditions that were telling us to be scaling in, and it was hourly, 4-hour, 15-minute, 5-minute, all oversold. So we broke the lower high pattern. The lower high was here at 7,989. We broke that on the 3rd hourly candlestick of the bounce. So if you waited for the lower high pattern to break to get in, the gains, they're still there, but they're not as significant as opposed to scaling in. And in my Litecoin trade, I only got in about 30% of my position that I wanted. And again, I'm not going to complain about it. I was being protective. I was playing against the trend of the market and locked in the profit. And we'll do it again next time it happens. So the 15-minute time frame, again, looking back, we had the dump, the low, lower high, lower low, lower high, higher low, and then a higher high. And you could draw this. It's an inverse head and shoulders pattern where you have your left shoulder, the head is the bottom, and then the right shoulder is the higher low. It's the exact opposite of what bearish reversal head and shoulders pattern is, because it's a pattern going from lower highs and lower lows to a higher low with the right shoulder and then a higher high as soon as you break the neckline. So the neckline in this instance was right here. Changing my tool. So the neckline was right there at 7,855. 7,955. So that was the bull break, and you can see the follow through there. That's exactly when the bull volume really started kicking into gear. We had a 15-minute inside bar break bullish right before it. And then look at this neckline, previous resistance, now acting as support. So that's the low of consolidation at this point, right off the neckline. Speaking of which, dump o'clock. Need to pull this chart up real quick. So here's the updated chart. And again, thanks to member Beto for putting this out and updating it. But what it shows us is a range. Again, it's a window now of about 2 hours. And there's, back and forth as to whether whoever's dumping is observing daylight savings time. The way to be safe about this is to just not box ourselves in too much. Let's just say between 10 a.m. and noon, just about noon, maybe even 12:30 Eastern, is when we see dump o'clock happen. So give ourselves that 2.5 hour window, 2 hour window, and just keep an eye out for it, because at this point, it hasn't happened every time, but it's happened, let's say, maybe 8 out of the last 10 days. And it happened again today. So today, the dump that occurred was at 10 a.m. Eastern. And again, a couple times it's been on the lower end of the spectrum at 10 o'clock, and a couple times it's been on the latter end of the spectrum at just after noon. So checking how we can see it on the 5-minute time frame, how can you recognize dump o'clock? Well, here on the 5-minute time frame, we had the break and the top of the bounce, very healthy 5-minute consolidation. Look at the volume, normal volume, all out dump right at 11 o'clock on the dot. So all out dump for 10 minutes in a row at that point in time. The amount of volume that we saw, 421, 650 Bitcoin. And if you look on Bitfinex, it was more like a couple thousand. And then we had another drop. So all in all, we're talking thousands of Bitcoin dumping. And again, it's at the same time, and it's like clockwork at this point. And, people are looking for where pump o'clock is, seeing if there's patterns there as well. But without a doubt at this point, there is a pattern that there is bearish activity at a certain period in time. And everybody in the chat room was ready for it today and saw it following through. And certainly an instance where you want to be protecting your trade, because just like that, the price dropped from 8,282. 10 minutes later, we're down to 8,013. So a $200 drop in 10 minutes. Obviously, you want to avoid that if you're in a bullish position. And being aware of the time is something that is going to be useful. So where we stand right now, again, the hourly, we have our low of the dump, high of the bounce as resistance, higher low, and now we're within that range. So the 4-hour inside bar currently forming. That's where we stand with Bitcoin. Even if we get a bull break, again, I'm going to be out and about tonight, so don't care about trading either way. But if we do get a bull break, have to be cautious, because again, we've got exponential resistance here. The hourly had been struggling with the exponential resistance, trying to get over it again. Here, the initial top of the bounce, struggling, got over it, couldn't hold it, trying to get back over it again. But we are close to a 4-hour bull MAC decross, so if we do see some continuation, we will be looking up at the next resistance level. And again, after 8,400, I'm looking at 8,794. But I do not like the risk to reward of a bullish entry on a break of 8,317. I don't think that we're going to get, enough significant upside that we're going to see a $500 move or anything like that. So even if I were here looking to trade, I would be very skeptical and cautious on a bull break of the 4-hour candlestick. There will probably be a bull trade to be had there, maybe, the opportunity for a quick flip, but just want to remain cautious because this daily chart, like I said, the trend is not changing anytime soon. Checking in on, let's go Litecoin next and then Ethereum. Ethereum is becoming the redheaded stepchild of the big three. Sorry for all you redheads out there, no harm intended. So checking on the daily time frame, we've got 150 bouncing off as support for Litecoin. Again, bullish reversal candlestick. To change the trend, we have to break the lower high at 194.47. And at this point, that is currently about 18% away. So not happening anytime soon. The bounce on Litecoin, and I've noticed this on the past two bounces, Litecoin sees the bigger percentage gains on the first move, the first initial bounce, and then on the second leg up, Litecoin stalls out while Bitcoin catches up a little bit. So we have a 4-hour inside bar on Litecoin as well. Support is down at 157.44, resistance is 164. Bull MACD cross closing in on the 4-hour time frame, so watching that as well. If we break 164 bullish, we're looking at 167.50. If we break that level, we're looking at 170.50. If we see a bear break, we're looking down at the low support of 150. So the hourly time frame, this is what I'm talking about. Let's just compare Bitcoin and Litecoin real quick. 4 big green hours in a row. We look at the Bitcoin bounce that took place on the hourly time frame. We had 4 green hours, but there's some upper wicks in there. It's not as strong, but we did see a higher low and a higher high, a little bull flag continuation that dump o'clock ruined. It ruined that hourly bull flag. But Litecoin, the little higher high, we kind of stalled out a little bit. Not as clear of a bull flag confirmation. So that's where Bitcoin caught up a little bit, the second leg to the upside. And we have a double top up here at 167.50, marking the top of this bull move. So again, higher low of support is 157.10, and that 4-hour inside bar higher low is a little bit ahead of that, 157.44. Same thing though, if we get a bull break of this inside bar over 164, I don't anticipate a ton of opportunity of profit. I do anticipate the ability to flip, but in terms of seeing another $15, $20 move, not happening in my opinion on Litecoin. The 4-hour time frame is going to have to see some more strength, and we really need the bull volume to show up is what it boils down to. So without bull volume, we're not going to be changing any trends. And again, I am very cautious because we are playing against the trend. And when you're playing with the trend, you let your trades ride a lot longer than when you're playing counter the trend. So I will constantly always be locking that in. So let's go into Litecoin and what was the insight into scaling in on this dump. And I actually made 2 trades. The first one, I got filled at 159.10, 159.15 on this pullback, and I sold that little flip. And that's because Bitcoin was so close to 4-hour RSI, and we just made the bear break on the daily time frame, confirming the bear flag. I had the thought process and the hypothesis that, okay, we're this close to Bitcoin 4-hour oversold. I'm going to be patient and wait for that 4-hour to get oversold, like I said in the video. So when I had that opportunity for quick profit, I flipped it for $3, a $3 gain on Litecoin real quick, locked that in. Again, not going to go broke if you're locking in small gains when you're in a downtrend. And then when the bull market shows back up again, which it will at some point, whether the bull market happens from Bitcoin 3,000 or whether it happens from 8,000, I can't say, I'm not going to guess. But when the bull market comes back, that it will, we will have more capital to be looking to utilize. So after that trade, I went to all cash, locked it in again. And then as we started dropping back down again, I just started comparing things. So when I'm always looking at Bitcoin RSI when I'm making my entry into Litecoin, and I started scaling in my positions. I think I had one at 156.15, 153.15, 151.15. Then I had a bunch of orders in the mid to upper 140s. And then I had a nice amount of cash as well to be protected, because again, last night I was out and about and I wasn't watching. I was checking in every few hours, but I was playing it so conservatively by spacing my orders and having cash ready that even if we did see an all-out dump, I would be able to manage my position and be okay in the end, knowing that the 4-hour RSI consistently bounces from 20 at the worst case scenario. So where we were at that point, I was watching Bitcoin's hourly RSI and 4-hour RSI, and I could say, okay, if the 4-hour RSI down at the low is in the mid-20s and the hourly RSI down at the low is down there as well in the mid-20s, if we are going to see 4-hour RSI get down to 20 even, which we have seen at the more extreme instances, that hourly RSI is going to drop down into the teens. That does not happen too often. So I know the odds of that happening are not likely. So I started scaling in, knowing or anticipating that the bounce would play out last night, not anticipating anything to change in terms of, the most oversold RSI that we've seen in months, because there was not enough indication of bearish volume for me to fear that. And overall, just knowing that if I start scaling in my position and the bounce plays out, I'll lock in some profit. And if it keeps pulling back, I have plenty of ammo to be looking for a pullback. Another point I want to make when I'm scaling in, and this was an instance with 150, I placed my orders every $2 on the way down to 150, but then under 150, I skip some levels. So I'm not going to go right at 149.15, because if 150 psychological breaks, the amount of stop losses that are going to trigger under that psychological level is going to be significant enough that I'm going to skip some extra dollars. And rather going at 149.15 from 150.15, I'll go down to 148.15 and skip a dollar, because I can anticipate that if that psychological level breaks, there's going to be an extra push of downward pressure, and that that's why I would want to put my bid down. Another thing I want to highlight is that every time we saw a short-term bounce cool off the shorter-term RSI levels, I would move my top bid. So initially, I had my top bids in the upper 150s, and every time Bitcoin saw a short-term bounce and the 15-minute and hourly RSI briefly cooled off, I would pull my top bid, knowing that we could easily see another leg down because the RSI cooled off, and I wouldn't want that top bid to get filled. I would want some of my lower bids to get filled, and then have, again, more cash because I pulled that bid to be able to place them lower. So it's just constantly shuffling around bids, watching the RSI levels, watching the volume and the price action, and being very protective. Again, that's the bottom line. 4 months ago, I was going all in on these oversold bounces and seeing very big gains because the bounces were more significant. But in this current market environment, I'm going to be more protective. I'm not going to be using full positions unless we see very extreme levels. If the 4-hour RSI goes down to 20 on Bitcoin, I will likely begin scaling in for a full position. But where we were last night in the mid-20s on the 4-hour, that was not a scenario that I was looking to. So where we stand right now, again, inside bar 4-hour time frame, and waiting for a break sometime in the near future. Ethereum, weakest bounce. Again, it's been consistent with these names where Litecoin has the strongest bounces, Bitcoin's in the middle, and Ethereum is the weakest. So here's Ethereum's daily candlestick, clearly weaker than Litecoin's. And again, anything under 749 is a lower high. We have to see $130 move. Actually, we're here at 603. We have to see $140 something move, almost 23% in order to see a break of the daily lower high pattern. 4-hour RSI got very extreme on Ethereum. This sent out the oversold climax alert down at the bottom on the 4-hour time frame, and that actually went out at a really nice time on this 4-hour chart because we did get that bounce follow through. But inside bar broke bullish. That was an indication on the 4-hour chart for some follow through. But again, I'm not trading Ethereum. I have no interest in it right now. Rejecting from the hourly exponential resistance, showing a lack of follow through. Both other names got over, at least briefly, their exponential resistance. So there's another difference where you can clearly see it's weaker. So at this point, let's see if we have that 4-hour inside bar to be watching, and we do. Support is 589.38. Resistance is 608.98. And that is where we stand on Ethereum. So not going to go too much more in depth because everything else is the same. We could absolutely see another leg down. The 4-hour RSI is cooling off. Odds have bullish favor right now just because we're closer to a 4-hour inside bar bull break than bear break. But look at the 4-hour RSI. It's almost at 40 now on Bitcoin. So we could absolutely see another leg down. And that daily RSI is getting closer and closer to oversold. At the low of this candlestick yesterday, that RSI was down in the low 30s. And that's another possibility I'm keeping an eye out for as well. So I want to emphasize again, I am anticipating a weekly higher low. I do not believe that this pullback is going to take us right down to support of 5,873 unless we see some significant FUD associated with it. Have to see some new news for that to happen, in my opinion. Otherwise, the daily RSI will get oversold before we get down to those levels, and we'll likely see a daily oversold bounce take place that would allow for some short-term upside. So that's where we stand on the overall market. Right now, these articles going out where Palm Beach or whatever is saying $5 trillion coming into the market. That's all noise. And sure, it'd be great. It's a nice fantasy for people that are feeling down on the market. And you got to think about it. And we're in this boat as well. These services that are, wanting to build their user base and get attention. And I can see it in YouTube video views and all these metrics. When crypto's doing well, videos get more views. There's more clicks. There's more everything. So they want to keep everybody interested in the cryptocurrency space, and that's, part of their business model. So that's something that they want to be doing. That's a fantastical story, in my opinion, that, again, could be true, but I'm not going to sit here and try and speculate and say, whether that's true or not, and hope that that's true or make any decisions based off of that. Because in my opinion, all that article is doing is giving hope to these people that are really bummed and thinking about, man, I don't want to trade cryptocurrency anymore. I'm going to take a break, things like that. There's just these, it's a reach, in my opinion. $5 trillion, it'd be great, but it's very unlikely, in my opinion, to see that kind of action take place. So that's just my skeptical opinion on things like that. And just staying balanced and unemotional. That's the kind of article that's going to trigger your emotions and say, oh, good, I've been holding Bitcoin and I'm down $5,000, but I'm going to keep holding in case this $5 trillion comes. And again, it's just not something that I would put any merit into at this point. And if we do see $5 trillion come into this market, we'll see it on the charts. We'll see the volume. We'll see the trend changes. It's not just going to come out of nowhere and we're going to get left behind here. The trend change will take place. And again, it's just not happening anytime soon at this current point. So I appreciate you tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow and give some update on how Dash Fest went. It's 3 days long, so I'll probably go a couple days here and check it out and see if it gets smoother for people. And, once people are more used to explaining it to people, it's just going to be observation mode for me as a fly on the wall. So I appreciate you tuning in. Hope you have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget to do good things. I tried to give some tacos to a homeless guy yesterday, but he wanted only money. Gave me a nice little sneer, which is sometimes discouraging, but it's not going to stop me from giving someone else tacos. I forgot to do analysis on Dash. So Dash is clearly more bearish than Bitcoin as we're down at the dump low. 376.05, 389. Have to hold this low, otherwise it is a clear bear break looking at the weekly longer term time frame. So again, always comparing to the benchmark of Bitcoin, and we're not close to breaking Bitcoin's lower low like Dash is. So it is definitely in trouble, and the bulls, again, were nowhere near changing any kind of trend. This is a potential bear flag on the 4-hour time frame as we're not seeing a whole lot of follow through. Certainly correlation to Bitcoin overall, but this daily chart to change this downtrend for the bulls to take over, 548 is resistance. We need over 25% in order to break the daily lower high. So again, at this point, it's just up to the bulls to try and hold support. And these daily exponential resistances, the last 3 bounce attempts, have been unable to get over these levels. So overall, it is definitely a bearish outlook and have to see a trend change, which again, not happening anytime soon on this daily chart. So bulls have to be protective, and bears are certainly enjoying the opportunity.